Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast series, Keeping Up Standards, your podcast on standards in advertising, responsible advertising content, and how to tackle the new marketing trends. I'm your host, Tudor Manda, and in this series, we're talking to industry stakeholders who have a stake in the advertising value chain. I'm joined today by Conor Murray. Hi, Conor.
Good afternoon. Hello, Tudor.
You are Director of Regulatory and Policy Affairs at egta.
That's correct.
And Treasurer of the European Ad Standards Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
First question off the bat. What is your favorite ad?
Yeah, thank you for that. That was that's an interesting question, and actually, because you flagged it to me in advance.
Yes. Otherwise,
yeah, exactly. But I thought about a lot of ads, and being from Ireland, there's many good Guinness ads, for instance, that you could dwell on. But I've remained true to the question, and the first one that came up in my head was the Cadbury's gorilla ad. You know that one? So there's a gorilla just playing against a purple background. Well, obviously not a real gorilla. Playing Phil Collins in the Air Tonight, and it just gets increasingly louder and louder and louder. Look it up afterwards.
Is it a drum?
Yeah.
It's a
drum
the gorilla's on a drum, and then
it's fantastic.
And why did it?
Well, I mean, how often do you see a gorilla playing drums?
That's true. Yeah.
And how often do you associate a gorilla playing drums with Cadbury's milk chocolate?
Yeah.
So it's a very good ad, and it just popped up.
I wonder what the creative mind must have come up with that idea, that solution.
I think you hit it on the first part, creative.
Yeah.
So it's just something different.
It just went,
And it's a very catchy song, and
yeah.
Gorillas.
Created an analogy between chocolate and
and it shouldn't work at all because it's got literally nothing to do with the product, but it works very well.
It was not just online; it was broadcast. TV.
It was on TV. It's very much a sort of old school ad on a TV spot that kind of took off, and can be used in many different forms because it builds up to a crescendo.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about egta and what it represents.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about TV just now. I know that in the egta sphere, the membership, you have television and radio sales houses. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? What are radio sales houses?
So TV and radio sales houses, if you think of a broadcaster, any broadcaster that carries advertising, the sales house is the part of that broadcaster, but either TV or radio, that sells the advertising to the brands, to the advertisers, via the media agency. That's the sort of traditional chain of business.
Linear.
Exactly. And so the sales houses, either in-house or independently, they're the ones who do the booking and the selling, and they put all the planning for the broadcaster.
Okay.
And that's where the term sales house comes in.
So they're a bit the mediator between the advertising agencies.
Absolutely. And they're monetizing, for want of a better word, they're monetizing the airspace for the broadcaster.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who would deal with their clients, which would be the advertisers and the media agencies.
Right.
With the media planners for the agencies and with the brands themselves.
And that's only for radio?
No, for TV and radio.
For
TV and radio. It's TV and radio sales houses.
Okay. I always thought it was radio sales houses.
It was TV and radio sales houses. No, TV and radio sales houses.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what egta represents. That's who we are.
And you also have TV conglomerates, channels as a...
No, our place in the ecosystem is those who the commercial departments for the broadcasters. The term is sales house in English. It's probably more familiar in French. It's somehow more kind of established as a term, which is régie. Régie publicitaire. So you have TF1 Publicité.
Yeah.
That's the régie publicitaire for TF1. And that kind of seems to be much more recognized. Whereas I must confess myself, when I joined egta quite a while ago, I had to, before I got the job, look up what a sales house was and understand its role as well and its function.
How long have you been at egta for?
15 years.
Wow.
15 yeyears next month. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next month.
Yep.
This podcast is perfect.
Exactly. It's a celebration.
And what are some of the priorities? What are you looking for as egta that you're really focusing your resources on, not just advertising in particular?
So for us, it really is a lot of the focus is on advertising. As you mentioned there at the top, my role is advocacy, regulatory affairs. So very much as based in Brussels, relationships with the institutions, outreach, and making sure that the legislation is as sort of best suited for our members as possible. So there, it's trying to make sure that there's not as many restrictions, rules as possible. And that's just part of it. But it's really, as you said, I've been here for 15 years and it's changed a lot in that time.
Okay.
And we, when I joined, it was the responsibility or the job, the function of a sales house was really sell advertising, ensure that advertising can fund the broadcaster. Now we're moving into a much more revenue diversification. How can you explore different avenues of revenue for the broadcaster and in terms of media sustainability and all of that and what it may mean in today's media environment and digital environment and online environment and whatever that is, because it's constantly changing. And the issues kind of extrapolate very quickly.
Are there new issues, do you feel, or is it the same ones that are recurring, even if they're new, if we feel that they're new media because of the online space versus the broadcast?
I think some of the challenges are changing.
Right.
The kind of the moral compass of what we're here for doesn't change.
Right.
You know very well, legal, decent, honest, and truthful. That will always apply. That's important, no matter the medium, no matter the type of ad, no matter what you're trying to do, no matter the audience. And that needs to be the kind of the real compass for everything.
The
North Star. And that won't change. But then it's how that all interacts and what it means in terms of audiences and consumption of content. And that's for our members and for the media in general. That's quite interesting to see kind of how audiences are changing, consumption patterns, distribution patterns, accessibility, all of that. That's really the kind of, that's what keeps people busy.
I'm happy you said legal, decent, honest, and truthful. It's
yes, it's important.
It's the foundation of ADSR. And we are working on an internal report around the evolution of how the different media have changed over the past, well, depending relative to their existence as a media in the economy. And the television, radio was one of the oldest ones.
Yeah.
Possibly after out of home, because it's much easier to print something than it is to broadcast.
Exactly.
And I think this is no news to you, and it's probably a little bit contentious to a certain extent, that the time spent by consumers, by citizens in the TV broadcast space has decreased. Do you see an increase in connected versions of what used to be broadcast television?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we see for our members, yes, there's no ostrich mentality where we pretend, what's happening is not happening.
Yeah.
It's rather trying to understand that our members, their kind of point of difference is that the channels produce and continue to produce premium, high quality content. And then it's a question of how viewers, audiences access that content.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change necessarily because people no longer have a television set in the corner of the room that dominates, family entertainment, or they no longer listen to a radio and try and tune in to kind of beep, 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 beep and get any of that.
Yeah.
But rather, our members are producing podcasts, videocasts. They're producing all, same as what we're doing. This is why we're here, because it's important. And it's making sure that content that is owned by our members is distributed and across all the channels and all the media and all the points of access as much as possible to make sure that the public get to see and listen to that content.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean like it makes it more complicated now in terms of measurability to be able to define what is what, who's seeing what, who's listening to what. But for us, it's really making sure that the awareness of who owns the content and the quality of that content in particular, and the reach of that content and where it may be seen, and that there's various different points of contact with that, and kind of own that, and be proud of the different ways of reaching audiences.
Absolutely.
It's just changed as much as anything else. One of the challenges there is, when we get pieces of research talking about digital ad spend, online ad spend, and then media ad spend, or TV ad spend, or radio ad spend. Where's the overlap?
Yeah.
And where are, if you're looking at a Venn diagram, where does TV ad spend stop and where does digital ad spend begin? Because our members would underline that their content is accessible throughout your online journey. Yeah. But where are you differentiating what belongs to TV and what belongs to just online or internet space, or digital in general? And it's there's no easy answer to that.
No, it's a question of measurement, which is a going historical.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for another
Yeah.
video cast.
You'll come back another time. We'll talk just about measurement.
That's complicated.
Because I think it's worth mentioning as especially for TV, broadcast TV, also radios to a lesser extent, but TV in particular has this history of high compliance in terms of advertising. I mean, high compliance for numerous reasons. Obviously, it's been in the business for much longer, and the stakeholders have learned what is allowed, what isn't. Have learned the adaptability process for new marketing trends, new cultural trends as well, and also SROs. Not in all countries, and only 3 of them, but they're doing a lot of pre-clearance for TV ads. France, the UK, a little bit in Portugal as well. So that must have helped a lot the trust component in obviously broadcast TV, but also into the connected space and as a by proxy, if you want, an extension of, okay, it's the same brand as the online version, but I have more trust in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for our members, that's one of the greatest strengths, and that they leverage as much as possible towards advertisers, towards the clients. I think consistently in the Eurobarometers, where they survey the trust in media, radio consistently comes out as the most trusted medium, and that's clearly something that radio broadcasters and radio channels are extremely proud of, and it makes sense. So in a way, TV and radio has earned that trust, and that translates into trust across different points of contact and different means of access, and others have to earn the same amount of trust. It's an evolution. But the same as egta has, just as an aside to kind of egta is difficult to explain. So we're talking about TV and radio sales houses that we've begun this conversation with, trying to explain what a TV sales house and a radio sales house is, and hoping to that we'll get there. But egta, what does that stand for? EGTA stands for the European Group of Television Advertising. So egta was founded in 1974. As a television association, and it was actually rather aptly because of the month that we're in, whenever this broadcast is May right now, and we're approaching Eurovision, and egta was founded in 1974 for public service broadcasters that got together and said there's this Eurovision Song Contest happening. A lot of ads are going to be happening around the Eurovision Song Contest.
Okay, so that's the history.
We're going to sell some ads, right?
Yeah.
And it was public service broadcasters only then, because TV hadn't, private television, commercial television hadn't really kind of begun. It was only the public service broadcasters. So originally in 1974, it was a group of public service broadcasters brought together by this big event that even then was a big event and was going to be monetized, even if it was in a ballroom and much more sort of demure than it is now, a slightly different version of what is Eurovision.
Live orchestra.
Exactly. And they got together, and then they it kind of mushroomed from that, where they started to collaborate and see what they could share in terms of common interest. Then television got commercialized, privatized, and you had commercial TV and public service TV. And then quite a while later, we opened the association to become a TV and a radio association.
Okay, moving from TV to
exactly. But then we didn't become the European Group of Television and Radio Association, even if we were as the tagline. But we held on to egta as the official kind of acronym of the association. And even now, we've changed in the last couple of years, and our name is the International Trade Body for Multi-Platform TV and Audio Businesses, which is a mouthful.
Try to acronym.
Exactly, yeah. That. So we've stuck with egta again. But ultimately, it's TV and radio, but also video on demand, because all of our members have catch up. That's what we're pointing in terms of reaching audiences. So that's just one path of kind of discovering how the job has changed, how the role has changed, and who we're representing has changed. They're still the same brand names, big broadcasters who you recognize. We're very proud to have recently welcomed Netflix into the egta membership.
Okay, very good.
So there you go. So that's just the path we're on.
I have a question though, because you mentioned Eurovision. So the 1974 Eurovision was the reason, or one of the factors,
one of the triggers, let's say,
one of the triggers that led to union of television sales houses, advertising. at that time, EBU existed already, right?
EBU were the founding of egta. Yeah.
They were founding of egta.
Yeah, founding member and still a member of egta.
Oh, okay.
The European
was
Broadcasting Union. So there's a very long relationship with the public service media.
Yeah.
But obviously not all. So even if the association, European Broadcasting Union, has always stayed as part of egta, it was one of our first members, and with their public service broadcasters who were selling ads around Eurovision. Not all public service broadcasters carry ads.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Those who do are members of egta by and large.
Okay, yeah.
99%.
99%. Okay.
And the single percenters missing should join. And so that's that. So there's a very well established relationship between the public service media. Yeah. And in fact, you've been in our offices in Brussels a long time ago. We used to share offices with EBU.
Okay, I didn't know that.
20 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, 20 years ago.
Long time. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the future and what you see as being important for TV and radio sales houses. Not necessarily in terms of advertising, but predominantly in terms of advertising, and then how self-regulation can address some of the challenges and issues that you foresee.
So, I mean, that's a big question.
It is.
So what's important going forward is, I mean, there's a sort of existential question about European media. We live, as we know, it's time to, a few catchphrases, trite words that we've all heard before. It's a globalized world. Everything is much more kind of international. TV and radio traditionally has been established on a national or a domestic level. Our members, I've mentioned TF1, we talk about ITV in the UK. You have RTL as Luxembourg, Germany, and in many other markets as well. ProSieben in Germany, Mediaset in Italy. A lot of those companies are national champions, and they were the leading broadcaster in each of their markets. They continue to be so by and large, but their competitors. So it used to be, let's say, to give a German example, you would have RTL Germany competing with ProSieben to see who would get the most audiences, who would get the most reach, who would then get the most advertising revenue, and where would they would get the rights for sports, etc., etc. They're now competing with Netflix, who are also a member of egta. They're competing with Amazon Prime, with Paramount, also a member, with Disney Plus. Different. It's and most importantly with YouTube. So the competitors, the market has changed from being national to international, and from broadcast uniquely to, let's say, video, including streaming, including kind of video sharing platforms. So it's all very much changing. And then how do you keep your relevance? How do you maintain relevance? How do you maintain that sort of point of difference? That brand that separates you from your competitors? How do you ensure that a 5-year-old who will be a 15-year-old, a 25-year-old in the future, knows that they are watching a piece of content from RTL as opposed to just something that's on YouTube? Does it matter? It probably does. It matters in terms of revenue and keeping the company alive, but you need to ensure that sort of everybody can see the content, but make sure that the money goes the right way as well, and that's fair, and the share, the share of the revenue is done in a kind of equitable fashion. But most importantly, that audiences are informed and entertained. So all of that is a challenge. I merely work for the trade body, trying to explain some of those challenges. I'm not the chief marketing officer or the chief financial officer, nor do I work for any of those departments within our individual companies. But you can see the challenges, and they all have to ensure their importance and relevance on a national level, but then also as international actors on a global stage as well. And that's both part of the solution and the problem in a way.
Yeah, it's a tension between opportunities, I guess, for them in the online space.
Absolutely, and it's
challenges.
It's an opportunity because that's where audiences are, right? You can't say we will only put our content on a TV set. I mean, I think our members are not ignorant enough to think that everybody's watching content on a TV set, and that's the solution to the future. It's not, but it doesn't mean that television or indeed radio is being left behind. It just means that you can access that on your phone. I can cringe at this episode and my performance within on my phone, on my PC. I can send clips of it to various people who can access it on a social media platform or whatever. That doesn't take away from the kind of that this was generated, or this sort of content could be generated by a broadcaster. You just need to ensure that people recognize what they're watching. It doesn't necessarily matter where or how they're watching it. It needs to be associated with that media company.
Yeah.
And that's the important fact for us. And then it's all about collaboration, partnerships. You have to recognize the footprint and the breadth of touch points that others have. A lot of our members, the competitors, have. A lot of our members are evolving from directly competing with those international players to partnering with them, to ensuring that their content is available.
Oh yeah, I see. Creating a bridge with
absolutely, yeah,
between their media space to theirs.
Yes, and so it's, but you don't want to lose the value, right? You want to make sure that you maintain that value as well as the relevance and the reach. So it's constantly changing.
Super complex.
Yeah, very much so. And a difficult one. And then you have the responsibility and the legislation and the rules. And you need to, of course, I'm involved with regulation. That's what I do on a full-time basis, and need to ensure that our members are treated fairly and their competitors are treated in the same fashion, and that we have a fair competition.
Yeah. Level playing field.
Exactly. And I think, everybody's aware of that and everyone's open to discussions. So, but also maybe let's make the rules fit for all as well. And it's not so obvious, right? And regulation is a tricky sphere. It's hard to have regulation fast. It's probably not good to have regulation fast, because if you write a rule book quickly, it's probably not going to be a comprehensive rule book, excuse me. But equally, when regulation, and I don't want to make this into a little conversation about co-legislation, which is really very interesting. But it doesn't happen quickly. It takes a while, right? So you need to make sure that there's scope for rules that fit where the audiences are going.
Yeah.
But thorough rules that are debated and negotiated fairly.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we have IASA and self-regulation that can work, and adapt to the industry challenges
much
in
quicker
a more fluid and flexible way.
Yeah.
So there's a space for everyone, right? And we welcome the fact that IASA has evolved with the times, and that IASA is incorporating more and more, companies and organizations who represent the breadth of the advertising ecosystem, because that's important.
Yeah,
you can't have
it's an echo or reflection of the reality as is now.
Yes, you can't have an ad self-regulation system without the biggest advertising organizations in the world.
No, of course.
They should be there.
Yeah. It's also, we're trying to find, this is the added value of self-regulation, is it builds, especially for the advertising space, it builds solutions that address the issues of tomorrow, but as much as possible and as quickly as possible. Yeah. And legislation can only go so far. We can go into detail about how legislation does or does not do that. Let's not do that now. But suffice to say that, we need to be informed by what industry practices are, where the advertising marketing trends are going, and where you and other stakeholders are seeing it going, because otherwise we're not going to be able to implement or come up with solutions that actually address the issues that are likely to arise in advertising or for the different stakeholders. And this is something that's been evident, particularly for TV, as you mentioned, evolved over 100 years now, and likely will evolve. Is there something exciting that you think is going to happen, or that you're really looking forward, that you've heard from your members? Might not be anything. Might be.
Yeah, I think
that you think is going to solve everything.
It's not solve everything. I think what our members need to, what they want to focus on is the attraction of of what they produce.
Mm.
And as long as you continue to produce content that is compelling and that is watchable and
It speaks to the
entertaining
audience.
and that tells a story, it's the same as a good ad. If it's an ad that is just produced by AI to have something out there, or without that human touch, without that little level of creativity, without that sort of story arc, it looks worse. The production quality is lower. It's the same for our members. If they have conversations, if they have programming, if they have series that people and audiences want to watch, that will be the key to future success. And then it's about, and we have not that recently. There was an era not long ago, say 20 years ago, where the best quality, the sort of what people wanted to watch more than anything else was the big cinematic releases. Cinema still has its place; it's still very important. But some of the high level TV series that were produced in the last kind of 20, 25 years, they've started to be, that's where the actors want to watch, want to be, where the directors want to be, where everybody wants to be associated with these, because you can tell so much more over 12 episodes, over 7 seasons. People get much more involved and they want to be associated with that.
Of course.
And you do that, and you continue to do that, then the rest will kind of take care of itself. Now, it won't pay for itself. And that's a different story. And that's where partnerships, advertising, but advertising that is responsible, that doesn't put the importance of getting money in above ensuring that you can get some revenue to sustain the ultimate goal of the television or radio company, which is to produce high level content. In order to do that, you have to finance it. You get money from advertising to do so. But the ultimate goal is to make good stuff that people want
sustainable and that it speaks to them.
And as long as you do that, then that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then that's the entertaining part. You got to get sports. People want to look sports. That's very expensive. And then you also have a responsibility as the media, and that's a non-negotiable is to produce news and to be to employ journalists who can work in the right conditions,
Experts
who can follow the news.
And
also that's the other link that will never disappear and never lose value, is that editorial control and editorial responsibility that news media has. They have someone making sure, they have editors making sure that the news that they distribute, that they produce, is editorially controlled, that it's been vetted, that it is fact checked, and that people can really trust what they're seeing, because that's a challenge that we're all facing. And there are issues that will change over time. We'll all be able to recognize what's real and what's not real more, but you need to be able to trust what is news and what is not news.
Trust component. We'll finish with this. That trust component is key.
Absolutely.
To the editorial side, to the advertising space, everyone, all the stakeholders, consumers. We've been we have a lot of stakeholders within EASA, yourselves and the whole advertising ecosystem, or every value chain, right? Influencers and so on. They'll be coming to this podcast as well to have their perspective. Within them or outside of the membership that EASA has, who do you think we should have next behind this mic? And do you think we really need to talk to them to have their perspective or their opinion on the future?
I mean, I think it's always really interesting to hear from the influencer perspective, because there, I think there's the link of it's very different, let's say, from the television and radio perspective in one way, in that our members are huge companies where there's many actors in the value chain. There's editorial teams, there's production teams, there's advertising
within a given company.
And then it all work together to produce content, to produce news, to kind of deliver it. What often with influencers is one person and a camera person or a small team, right? And that's equal. I mean, of absolute equal merit. And many audiences are attracted to that, to the speed, the nimbleness, the agility of that content, and that is that sort of almost one-on-one relationship that is compelling for all of us. But it's different, and now it's, where is that place in the whole system? Where do influencers kind of sit? And not just on a, could very easily make all sorts of claims about legislation. That's not the point. The point is rather, how are they interacting as influencers with the rest of the ecosystem in terms of content generation? Where do their trade bodies sit, and how do they interact with the influencers within each of those markets? And because that voice is becoming more relevant and needs to be kind of represented, and it already is. Scott, it's valued, and so I'd love to hear from Scott.
We'll have definitely
Scott and the influencers.
We'll also have to have an influencer. We could have yourself. You're an influencer, aren't you?
I could be. Everybody can influence. But I think that's what I'd like to hear from.
No, we'll definitely do so. Well, thank you very much, Conor.
Thanks a lot.
It's been really insightful having this perspective in the history of TV and radio, their perspective on hopefully how it will evolve positively in the future.
Perfect.
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Take it easy.
Bye.